Hello everyone, Mouse88 here with a brand new video, and today will be a short video on ethics from a Marxist perspective. Now usually I would give a long explanation about the history of ethics and the different schools of thought and all that nonsense, but no, instead I'm going to give a quick rundown about what ethics means to a Marxist. Now as Marxists and students of Marxism, we are dialectical materialists, which means that we understand the primary substance is the material, what runs it is dialectics, thanks to the constant contradictions. Without these contradictions, we would not have motion. Without motion, the world would be in a stasis, meaning we would not exist. Why do I bring this up? Well, when it comes to dialectics, we understand everything eventually transforms into its opposite. What once lived will eventually die, positive and negative, and the understanding of the subjective and the objective. The same could be said when applying dialectics to ethics. We understand what could be beneficial for us now could in the future turn to hinder us. A perfect example is capitalism. The development of capital has seen science advance, materials being made cheaper, and the advancement of human life, compared to feudalism, which was hindering science and development. Yet, capital has now turned from the idealist enlightenment view of fraternity and equality to a parasitic system that needs to use imperialism to survive by stifling other nations and people's chances to grow by extracting their wealth to benefit the fruits of a collective few that own the means of production. Of course, the opposite of this would be socialism, which focuses on fulfilling the needs of the people and transferring the ownership from the capitalist class to the proletariat. Now, what are our ethics? If we see the world dialectically, we surely need to focus on the benefits of the whole people, right? No. The idea of working for the whole people rejects the basis of class in the society we live in and interact with. Now, to a person new to Marxism, this sounds harsh. But for those that have studied and even practiced Marxism, understand why we do not work for the whole people. We want to work for what benefits the proletariat, towards the benefit of the only historical class that can liberate itself from the chains of class society. Yes, understanding this dialectically is a good thing, but without the material understanding of who this will benefit, we risk falling back into bourgeois ethics. You might be asking, why do we not focus on the needs of the whole people? Will we not harm the ones that are most at risk? And the answer is yes, but not the way you think it is. We must first ask, who are the whole people? It clearly disregards the recognition of class as a basis for the cause of these inherent problems. Something that Marxism requires is understanding class roles in capitalism, understanding that class struggle is the key link in political struggle. Now, whilst we do support a worker-peasant alliance, only in nations that are semi-feudal, mind you, the goal is to rectify the contradiction between the two for two main reasons. 1. To unite all those oppressed under imperialist capitalist domination, and 2. To have a proletariat communist goal be involved in the interests of the peasantry. When we support the broad masses, we are not really taking care of the problem, not dismantling the capitalist superstructure, but ensuring its survival in another form. The form of taking care of the needs of the whole people appears left in form, but in reality is right in essence. We create a welfare state with increased interventions, not transferring the means of production to the workers. The bourgeois can use this to their advantage and not fork over all their wealth, but instead forking over a few more dollars, but not giving up their means of production. We have to recognize that only looking at ethics dialectically does not fully help, as it ignores the one important aspect of developing knowledge, that of practice. In the context of dialectical materialism, practice is principle over theory. Ethics falls under theory, and analysis of it in isolation from the world can lead to incorrect conclusions. Focusing on ethics purely in isolation with the guise of materialism guiding it, the dialectical method we hold turns into its opposite. It becomes a dogmatic and mechanical understanding. The next logical step is to understand dialectical materialism placed in understanding ethics and practice. Well, as mentioned before, our goal is to help the workers take the means of production and transform our society from a profit-focused, individualized society to a more necessity-focused collective, ultimately abolishing the class system. Marxism holds ideals of utilitarianism in the context of developing proletarian power and abolishing the class system. To quote Mao, "Is this attitude of ours utilitarian? Materialists do not oppose utilitarianism in general, but the utilitarianism of the feudal bourgeois and petty bourgeois classes. They oppose those hypocrites who attack utilitarianism in words, but in deeds embrace the most selfish and short-sighted utilitarianism. There is no ism in the world that transcends utilitarian considerations. In class society, there can be only the utilitarianism of this or that class. We proletarian revolutionary utilitarians and take as our point of departure the unity of the present and future interests of the broadest masses, who constitute over 90% of the population. Hence, we are revolutionary utilitarian aiming for the broadest and the most long range objectives, not narrow utilitarians concerned only with the partial and the immediates. If, for instance, you reproach the masses for their utilitarianism and yet for your own utility, or that of a narrow clique, force on the market and propagandize among the masses a work which pleases only the few, but is useless or even harmful to the majority, then you are not only insulting the masses, but also revealing your own lack of self knowledge. A thing is good only when it brings real benefit to the masses of the people. End quote. This quote from the talks of the Yan'an Forums, whilst discussing art, is still relevant to the question of what ethics we as students and practitioners of Marxism should uphold. We are focused on what benefits the proletariat, an auxiliary of the goal to abolish the class society. As Marx and Engels taught us, that the masses make history and the working class is what makes the world run. By producing solutions to the needs of the people, by a society run by a dictatorship of the proletariat, we focus and delve into ethical questions through the lens of working class liberation. We must use the materials given to us by nature and use it to our advantage. And whilst man might never rule over nature, we can still use the material conditions to creatively find ways to benefit the working people. The harm that comes towards the bourgeois or petit bourgeois as a result of working class liberation is something necessary, as they are the ones attempting to anchor the wheel of history down, chaining the fellow working class down, the social context of production becoming collectively owned and communally maintained and benefit allows the problems of society to be alleviated to the best of its ability. The private character of ownership holds a direct contradiction to this, as Marx and Engels have pointed out multiple times. And with that, I end this video here. Short, but hopefully quite simple and easy to understand. If you have any questions, comments, or critiques, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. Also down below, I will leave links to readings that I think will be helpful to have a better understanding of ethics. Well, that will be all for now. Stay safe and have a good day. This is Mouse98, signing off.